What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut, and today we're going to be recapping the round of 8 during the NASCAR playoffs, and we're going to look at the Final Four for the future upcoming race in Phoenix. So without further ado, we'll start. And basically, the first race was in Texas. In Texas, so we saw some of the round of 8 drivers struggle. Logano had a massive engine problem that basically made it so he had to win one of the last 2 races to make the Final Four. It really hurt him. Truex had a problem towards the end of the race. So those 2 were pretty much in the hole right off the bat in Texas. And then the second race in Kansas saw Blaney have a massive problem. He finished 37th. So he got, he was looking pretty good right off the bat after the first race, but that really hurt him. Kyle Busch had a lot of problems too. He finished 4 laps down, I believe it was, in Kansas. So he kind of needed to win to be in. That left 4 drivers really in trouble, and 3 of them essentially fighting for the last spot as Kyle Larson won in both Texas and Kansas. So he more than locked himself into the Final Four. So then we get to Martinsville. And Martinsville did not disappoint. So Kyle Larson, he kind of yielded the first place to Chase Elliott early on. Made sense, they're teammates. And Chase ended up clinching himself a spot in the Final Four by the end of stage 2 because of stage points and all that good stuff. So those 2 were locked in. So the final 2 spots were still up for grabs between 6 drivers. Now, all of the playoff drivers were still relatively competitive at the end of stage 2. They were all hanging pretty close to the top 10, if not all of them in the top 10. So you knew the final stage of Martinsville was going to be fun. And it did not disappoint. So Denny Hamlin ends up taking the lead, and he holds on to it for a while. But then, Hendrick Motorsports teammate of Larson and Elliott, Alex Bowman, did he wreck him intentionally? He's going to say he didn't. I think he did to help out his fellow Hendrick Motorsports teammates. It is what it is. It's racing, We got to see a great ending there, but Bowman ends up winning the race. And due to points, Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. grabbed the last 2 spots. Truex barely beating Kyle Busch, barely beating Brad Keselowski, and then Blaney, he had problems yesterday pretty early. He kind of fell off pretty quickly. He got some bad luck. And then Logano, Texas just completely screwed him. He wasn't able to get the stage points either in the last 2 races, so he was not doing great. But basically, after the race, when Bowman got the win in Martinsville, Denny went right up to him twice and basically stopped him from doing his, celebratory burnouts. So that was something. And we got another great quote. It's not Merry Off-Season, Happy Christmas, but, saying a quote about how Bowman always finishes behind his teammates. That's not the same, but it's still pretty good. So anyway, Denny's racing in the championship 4. Bowman is not. But we'll start by looking at the drivers now. So Kyle Larson, he's been pretty much the favorite to win the championship since the first month and a half of the season ended. I'd say by early April, he was probably the favorite. He's just been dominant this whole year. Obviously, he won the last 3 of the last 4 races, 3 in a row. So he's very good. He's definitely eager. He's willing to play. He's willing to race. He wants this championship more than anything. He is 100% there. He is going to do whatever it takes to get himself that championship. It would be a great redemption story. We all remember what happened in 2020, early 2020. He said a certain word that you shouldn't say while racing, and he served his time. He was suspended for the year. He was reinstated. He came back, and he's redeemed himself as far as I'm concerned. He apologized, but still, it is what it is. He served his time. He apologized, I should say. Kyle Larson, great driver this year. His team is eager. His team is ready to go. He is 100% the favorite, in my opinion, were it not for his teammate, Chase Elliott. Now, I'm not a fan of Elliott, and you guys know this if you've watched the previous NASCAR videos. So, at the end of that race, when all the Hendrick Motorsports fans were cheering when Denny got spun out by Bowman, that upset me a lot. And it just goes to show something. But I'm not here to rant about Hendrick Motorsports. So we're here to talk about Chase Elliott. Now, Elliott obviously is the defending NASCAR champion. He won 2020, and he won it by winning in Phoenix last year. Phoenix is a very good course for Chase Elliott, which, if you're not an Elliott fan, is a bit of a concern. Now, teammates, they're not going to help each other out. The only way Chase and Kyle are going to help each other out is if there's an accident and one of them is like multiple laps down and he's able to kind of help the other guy out. But they're not going to go, hey man, I'll give you first place and I'll finish second. That's not going to happen. Neither of them have that mentality. So Chase Elliott, it's going to depend on how the pole positioning goes, but I think it's going to be a close finish between these two. They're the two favorites. I'd say third is going to be Denny Hamlin. Now, Denny Hamlin, he's been consistent as consistent can be. And he's won 2 races in these playoffs so far. Now, he, just like Kyle Larson, doesn't have a championship yet. And Denny Hamlin is one of the greatest the sport has ever seen. So the fact that he doesn't have a championship is a bit of a, black eye on his otherwise impeccable resume. He's been amazing ever since he took the league by storm, the sport by storm, I should say. So Denny Hamlin, he definitely wants to win. He's in position where he's definitely not happy with Hendrick Motorsports right now, and they're not happy with him. So if he has a chance to dump one of these two guys in front of him, I don't see him hold him back. I think he'll do it. So it's going to be interesting to see how these three pan out and how they fight and how they play and all that good stuff. I don't think you're going to have a clean race between these three in Phoenix. I think Chase and Kyle are going to race each other clean, but obviously Denny's had beef with both Kyle and Chase this year in the playoffs, before the playoffs, so it's going to be tough. Now, fortunately for Denny, the fourth driver who made the playoffs is a teammate of his in Martin Truex Jr. So essentially you got 2 Joe Gibbs Toyotas against 2 Hendrick Motorsports Chevys. So Truex is he had a good stretch in, I believe it was April to May. He was doing pretty good. Then he cooled off. Then he got hot towards the end of July, into the middle of August, since we had those 2 weeks off. And Truex, he's been very streaky. And he's not really doing great right now, but he did have a very strong last 2 races, which got him this final spot over his fellow teammate Kyle Busch. So I don't know where to rank Truex. I think he's going to finish 4th of the 4 guys here. I think it's really a 3-man race. But Truex and Elliott both have a championship. Truex has 2, I believe it is. So Larson and Hamlin are going to be fighting it out more so, in my view. But it's going to be fun to watch this. And just like I said with Elliott and Larson, I don't see Truex and Hamlin helping each other out unless one of them is multiple laps down. So now we get to the eliminated 4. So Kyle Busch, if you would have asked me before the playoffs started who my nightmare Final 4 would be, to me it would be Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr., and probably Kyle Busch. Once the playoffs started, I started listening to Kyle Busch's radio, and I kind of started, I'm not going to say I like him now, but he kind of grew on me, I guess you could say. So him and Hamlin are kind of like the 2 that I don't like. So basically the top 5 were the top 5 that I wouldn't have wanted to make the playoffs, or, make the finals. So yeah, you can see where I'm at. But Kyle Busch, I mean, he had some really, really bad luck in Kansas. That wreck that hit him early on just completely ended his... Had he been able to finish a few, 5 places ahead, he probably would be I'm pretty sure he would have been in the playoffs. He was only down by a couple points to Truex. And then, of course, the choosing line incident there at Martinsville towards the end of the race, where basically everyone decided to go on the inside and Truex moved up like 3 or 4 spots because of it by going on the outside. That definitely hurt Kyle Busch. He was not happy when they did that, I can tell you that on his radio. I can't repeat what he said, but there's probably a feed on it of it somewhere. But Kyle Busch, he was racing till the end. Strong, competitive driver. He gave a couple good interviews after the race. One of them, of course, involved Brad Keselowski. So Keselowski, he was basically an only ran. He wasn't doing great for the first couple races, and then he had a strong finish in Martinsville where he finished 3rd. But he essentially dive-bombed Kyle Busch to take him out. And Brad looked like a man on a mission in the 3rd stage of Martinsville. He was racing as competitive can be. He was doing whatever he could to try to get an edge, to try to move into 2nd place, to try to move into 1st place. And he was not making friends, I can tell you that. Had he made it to the championship 4, I don't think anyone would have done him any favors whatsoever. I think he realized he was Penske's last hope, and it's his last year in Penske, so he was trying to do Roger Penske a favor, but in the end, it didn't work out. Now, a lot of people were talking a lot of trash about Brad Keselowski for driving so aggressively towards the end. Hear me out. Had Bowman failed inspection, whoever finished second place would have gotten the win. So him trying to take out Kyle Busch was essentially him saying, if I get second place, Bowman fails inspection, I make it to the championship 4. Kyle Busch, I don't know if he had that mentality. I think Kyle Busch had the mentality of, how far behind is Truex? I got to beat Truex. I don't care. I'm not going to win this race. I got to beat Truex. And that was part of Kyle Busch's problem. He was just worried about Truex all the time. He was kind of looking behind his shoulder. Where's Truex? Where's Truex? Brad Keselowski was looking forward and saying, if I can jump Busch in Bowman wrecks, or fails inspection, I get in. So, while I don't like the aggressive racing, you got to understand where he's coming from. Now, in 7th place, we had Ryan Blaney. So, Blaney, he had a couple of bad races. He had a couple of problems. He raced well in Texas, but Kansas and Martinsville just completely hurt him. So, obviously, Kansas more so, finishing towards the bottom 5. Never good. I had a lot of hope for Blaney. I thought Blaney was going to be, not a lock into the Final 4, but I thought Blaney was going to be Penske's best hope. I thought he was going to make it over Truex. That would have been my guess for the Final 4. Blaney over Truex, and then obviously Larson, Elliott, and Hamlin would have made it as well. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. He just had a lot of problems. He definitely seems to be upset with how the car has been treating him. So I don't know what's going to happen with that 12 car next year, but there were some problems when Blaney needed them to not have problems. So I don't know if he's going to have a new pit crew, new spotter, new crew chief, but it's going to be interesting to see how he runs in Phoenix. If he has a good race in Phoenix, something's going to happen. Now in last place, we had Joey Logano, and Logano, when he had that wreck in Texas, when his engine blew up in Texas and gave out on him, it was a sign of things to come for Penske, because while Logano was able to run decently the last 2 races, Blaney was not. So Logano, I was happy when he made it, but I kind of had the expectation of Brad and Joey aren't going to make runs this year. And I know I said I think they're the bottom 2 in the final 8. Unfortunately, I was right with Logano being the bottom of the bottom. But, Logano, all said and done, he had a solid season, so I'll give him that. He only won a single race this year, but hey, it was on the dirt. He's the only driver, that's basically at least, maybe even alive at this point. I don't know who won the last race on dirt. I'm sure Petty won one, maybe, but, Logano, he's got that going for him right now. So, it's going to be an interesting race in Phoenix, regardless. Logano, though, had his engine not blown, I don't know if he would have been able to make it to the championship 4. It would have at least been more competitive, because he at least was racing pretty strong in his last 2 races, which he's always good in Kansas and he's always good in Martinsville. But how do I predict the championship is going to go? I kind of mentioned it before. Pretty much, I think you're going to see the Final 4 looking just like how they are right now. I wouldn't be shocked if the Golden Boy sneaks past Larson and wins his 2nd consecutive championship. The fans will go wild. The fans are going to go wild no matter what. But I think Kyle Larson made a mistake. When Larson let Chase go by him, I think he's going to regret that. Because now, he doesn't have the support that Chase Elliott has. And he has to know this. I understand you have to do it to make your boss happy, but he's not going to have the support. We already saw what happened when somebody wrecked, or someone badmouths a Hendrick Motorsport driver that the fans like. We saw what happened with Denny. We saw what happened, with a bunch of other drivers in the past. If you say anything bad about Hendrick Motorsports, they're going to go for you. Obviously, Harvick, they're going to boo you. So I think Kyle Larson, if he wins and he takes out Chase on the way, he's going to get a lot of hate. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Hamlin, I wouldn't be shocked. I think Hamlin's going to be in the top 3 with these guys through and through to the end. But Martin Truex Jr. is a bit of a wild card. He can sneak in. He can steal the race. So anyway, that is what the Final 4 look like. These are the 4 that got eliminated in the last 3 races. But, if you're wondering who I'm rooting for, As much as I hate to say it, I'm rooting for Denny Hamlin to win. I don't know who I'll support for, if Denny wrecks early. I'll tell you right now, Chase Elliott is 4th of 4 for me, though. I don't want to see that guy win at all. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a good rest of your day.